Korea. I'm not going to try and give you everything, but the idea is that with the information presented, it'll give you the sort of the know-how of what you would like to be interested in specifically in the country. So to start with some rudimentary facts, the full name of that is actually the Republic of the Democratic Peoples. The Republic of the Democratic Peoples of Korea. I think I might have screwed that up. It has an estimated GDP of 45 billion, or roughly the same GDP as Alaska. Wait.
Click on the left.
I am. Okay. Can you just do it?
Just look at me when you want to click.
Okay. The current estimated population is roughly 24 million people, or roughly the population of Chicago and the Chicago and Los Angeles metropolitan areas combined. It also has a capital of Pyongyang, which has a population of 2.5 million people. The Korean, for sort of like the back history, the Korean Empire was actually sort of formed in 2333 BC. During this time, it ruled as sort of basically an autonomous empire, though they did have some internal conflicts. They were taken over by Japan during the Russo-Japanese War. During this time, though, it was actually sort of considered that it was more of an annex, but to some extent for many of the Koreans, they have like negative attitudes towards the Japanese people. This persisted in Japan until it was later defeated in World War II in 1945. As per the UN agreement, the empire was then divided into the North and South, with the North being governed by the U.S., having military support by the USSR, and the South having support by U.S. troops. And so then it was then divided on the 38th parallel. 3 years later, in 1948, there was a supervised election which allowed for the creation of 2 independent states. This was subsequently, though, after the elections, both felt that they should have full control over the peninsula, and so then they went to war with each other. As you probably know, Kim Il-sung was elected to North Korea, and son Syngmin Rhee was for South Korea. At this point, though, it became, as they were associated with the axis of evil, as a closed policy where they wouldn't allow a lot of information to be passing in or out of their country. Both governments claimed sovereignty, and then there was the Korean War of 1950. Sometimes this is considered a civil war, but often this is considered one of the initial sort of starting wars for the Cold War, because it was used as a proxy war. The specific thing about a proxy war is that you had the U.S., which could funnel its resources toward in the war and managed to sort of advocate its own principles of capitalism, specifically non-communism, while losing actually no lives on behalf of Americans. So it became something of sort of a contested principle in sort of the international theater. And then the primary point, yes, okay. And so then a ceasefire was eventually brokered in 1953, in the armistice of 1953, which allowed for a DMZ zone to be created, which was 148 miles long and 2.5 miles wide. The founding of the DPRK also marked Kim Il-sung's ascension. With the newfound state, he worked to create this intense cult of personality, in which he practically deified himself, allowing him to assume autocratic control of the peninsula. In doing so, the entire country is based around his principal ideas, and they essentially named him the Eternal President, their Eternal President. So in this sort of like the conflicts that they do have, because they do have such a huge DMZ zone, they want to try and intimidate as much as they can. And so North Korea will actually make sure that they don't use malnourished people who are standing as guards, and the Americans actually have the South Koreans actually make sure they have people who are 5'8" and taller, and they also have the assistance of the U.S. military. One of the most defining components of Kim Il-sung's political motivators was the idea of a heavily intertwined state in which you had the military and sort of the people only aligned as one. In doing so, he created what he would consider sort of a democracy, but most people would consider a post-Stalin single-party dictatorship. Sadly, Kim Il-sung's illustrious career came to an end in July 8, 1994, which sent the country into a 9-day mourning period. And it wasn't until 3 years later, actually, until Kim Jong-il was named the General Secretary. To preserve the hierarchy, though, Kim Il-sung was named the Eternal President, and so that allowed them to continue. Oh dear. I'm not even finished.
You will have to stop there for now.
Okay.
Good sir.
Okay.
Considering that we didn't have the ping pong balls.
Yeah, we'll help the shit out of you. No. Okay.